Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to Open Mic here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. This is the show where, on the John Campea Show, we save a few minutes at the end of the show to take some live questions. But on Open Mic, that's all we do in the afternoon is take your live questions. Now, I'm going to address something here quickly just so we can get it out of the way. So I didn't put up any videos yesterday. I didn't put up any videos this morning. As some of you guys know who follow me on social media. So I put up my review of Star Wars Solo. And I quite enjoyed the film. Again, like I said, it's not going to be in any conversations for top 10 movies of the year or anything like that. It has some issues, but it's a really fun summer adventure movie. So I liked it, whatever. And I got so much hate messages on the video that, just from people accusing me of things because how dare you like this movie and blah, 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 and you're this and you're that and all sorts of name calling and everything. And it's the first time that I really had a sense of just how bad. I mean, we've known that toxicity in film fandom has been around in certain circles and has really been festering in certain circles, like the Marvel versus DC thing. I mean, that's awful. We've known that for a while, but we'd never really seen it be bad or become that vile, that toxic, that cancerous in Star Wars circles. And, seeing all this feedback that we got from people who had not even seen the movie themselves was a really rude and shocking awakening to somebody like me who, my whole career has been based on the fact that I, almost as much as I love film, I love the film fan community. I love being a part of it. I love contributing to it. I love watching it and just enjoying it and all that kind of stuff, particularly the Star Wars film fan community, right? And the Star Wars film fan community has never been a community that's always agreed on things. Far from it. I mean, all you have to do is go back a few years to the prequel era, right? See, the prequels come out and there are people who just hate those movies. Hate those movies. And then there are some people who really love those movies, right? But I remember in that era that while you had people that were divided over whether we liked this movie or not, the fandom itself was never divided. You know what I mean? It was a unified fandom that disagreed about, whether this movie in our fandom was good or whether this movie in our fandom was bad. They would disagree about that. But what you never saw, or at least far more rarely saw then than you do now, is fandom turning on itself and turning on each other if you don't agree. If you don't agree that the prequels suck, then we're going to attack you. If you think the prequels are good, we're going to attack you, or vice versa, or whatever. That was never part of the Star Wars fan community before. We had differences of opinion over movies. Some people thought the prequels completely destroyed Star Wars. Some people thought it ruined their childhood, all that kind of stuff. But you never even saw people that extreme turning on people who liked them. It's like, you liked it, that's great, but I thought they were wretched, right? I mean, and myself, you've always heard me talk about whenever the prequels come up, because for some reason people keep asking me about the prequels. So I will always give my opinion about the prequels. I think they're terrible. I think they're rubbish, blah, 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 blah. But for those of you who've watched me for any period of time, I always follow that up with, but hey, I don't want you to not like them. Like, if you like them, just because I don't like them doesn't mean you shouldn't like them. If you like them, I celebrate that. I'm glad you get some happiness out of them. I'm glad you get some joy out of them. That's great. And that's just what the Star Wars film fandom has been. And part of the reason why I've loved the Star Wars fandom so much. It's not about everybody liking everything. It's about, even if we like different things, we're all together and we celebrate being fans together. And what happened the other day, what day is it today? Thursday, so Tuesday. What happened on Tuesday was really shocking for me to see how bad the Star Wars film fandom has become. That it's become just as toxic and just as bad and just as negative and just as hateful and as the Marvel versus DC stuff has been for a while. And maybe I was naive in thinking that, okay, but the Star Wars film fandom is strong enough and made up of such great people and blah, blah, blah. It will be insulated from that. And it wasn't. And it's not. And you've got some YouTube channels and some websites that actually encourage the toxicity. And I'm not talking about websites, YouTube channels that hate The Last Jedi. It's totally cool to hate The Last Jedi. If you watch The Last Jedi and it didn't work for you, there's no problem. You're no less of a Star Wars fan. If you consider yourself a Star Wars fan, you're no less a Star Wars fan for not liking The Last Jedi. I don't like the prequels. That doesn't make me any less of a Star Wars fan. So I'm not talking about sites that or channels or whatever that dislike The Last Jedi. Nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with that. I've had some very well-meaning people tweeting me over the last 48 hours saying, John, you should join this Star Wars fan community on Facebook because they call themselves like a Star Wars fan community for true fans. So it's like, basically, it's like fans who like everything about Star Wars. And I didn't reply to any of them. I said, well, I wouldn't qualify to be in your group because there's a lot of stuff in Star Wars I don't like. I don't like the prequels. I don't like the Clone Wars. There's a bunch of Rebels I don't like. Even in the movies that I like, there are certain things I don't like. So since I don't like everything, I don't qualify to be in. See, being a fan, one of the things I wrote on my social media post that the measure of a fandom is not how much do all the fans agree with each other. I said the measure of a fandom is how do the fans treat each other when they disagree. And I always thought that the Star Wars fandom was higher than that. Now, like some people have said to me, but John, aren't you being a little bit hypocritical? Like you said, I had some people writing to me, you said that anybody who doesn't like The Last Jedi is a bunch of, backwards thinking cousin humpers. No, don't misquote me. I said it's perfectly great for anybody who doesn't like The Last Jedi because you don't get to pick and choose what you like. It's something that hits you and either you like it or you don't. What I said is those people who choose to hate on the movie because they dare put a black guy in the movie, and how dare they put a woman on? Don't they know women are meant to show their tits, not their faces? Like, how dare Star Wars put a woman in the lead? How dare Star Wars put a black guy? Those are cousin fucking, mother humpers. That's what those people are. Those are the basement dwelling things. Because racism, homophobia, sexism, that kind of stuff, that is not a point of view. That's not a opinion. That's a venomous toxin. And I can't wait for the world to be rid of that type of thinking. That needs to be gone. You're on the wrong side of history. And I make no apologies for that. But that's not about an opinion about a movie. That's about your backwards twisted propaganda that you want to push on the world. And I make no apologies for that. You put blackface on our screen? Boycott this movie. Like that, yeah, you're a cousin humper. You just are. Just breed yourself out of existence, please. And I make no apologies for that, but make no mistake that shouldn't be confused with just, and nor should we paint everybody with the same brush. It's just anybody who didn't like The Last Jedi, or anybody, when Solo opens up next week, anybody who doesn't like Solo or whatever. That's not that. They just don't like the movies. I just don't like the prequels. Meh, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But seeing what happened on Tuesday, I'm not going to lie to you. It really threw me for a big loop. It threw me for a massive loop. So much so that I remember that night, Ann and I went to a U2 concert. And for those of you guys know me at all, like U2 is my all-time favorite band. I played in U2 tribute bands. I had the long hair and the ponytail mimicking the late 1980s Bono when I played in my tribute bands. But we went to the concert, and Ann knew I was in a bad mood. And we were sitting in the Forum in Los Angeles, 5 minutes before the show started, and I just turned to Ann. I said, "I just got to leave. I got to leave." I was just in no mood to be around people. Like that's how much it really bothered me. What the crumbling and the erosion of what the film fandom, the Star Wars in particular film fandom, had allowed itself to become. And for some of you who might think I'm making too big of a deal of that, then you don't know me. Like, my love of the film fan community, not just about film, but of the film fan community itself, is kind of what I've built everything on, right? And, oh, by the way, you might notice I'm using a different camera today because my camera also died on Tuesday. How was that? How's that just a piling up on stuff? And I don't want to go into it too much, but on top of all that, then I got notified on Twitter by a friend of mine back home in Canada that this girl I knew, had killed herself. So all that happened on Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday was a bad day. Okay, Tuesday was a bad day. Anyway, so I'm sitting there in the forum, and I just turned to Anna and I said, I just got to go. And I said, you stay, enjoy the show, because she loves you too. You stay, enjoy the show, but I got to go. And I never got to watch the show. So I left. And anyway, again, it was just a really hard thing for me to process, seeing how bad, how toxic. Why? Because I said I liked a movie. And then not seeing just the fandom, but that there are actually YouTube channels or websites that encourage toxic behavior, that encourage people to hate other people, that encourage people to turn on other people. If they like a movie, go turn on those people. And it's like, I was just sitting there going, like, what are we doing? I remember, and I know I'm going on about this, please forgive me, but I remember just talking about the film fandom. I remember a number of years ago, a bunch of years ago, there was this girl I know, her name's Jen Yamato, and she was, at the time, she was the senior editor of Rotten Tomatoes. Now, I believe she's at the LA Times. And now I believe she's a big film journalist and whatever for the LA Times. But I remember Jen Yamato and I sitting down. We were on a film set together and just talking about the film community, the film fan community, and how much we loved it, and how much we can see how much good the film fan community can do, and all the positive influences the film fan community can have, and blah, 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 blah. And I just remember thinking, man, that's gone. And it was a hard thing for me to say, but I just went like, yeah, my love of I still love Star Wars, but my love of the Star Wars fan community pretty much died. And it was like just right after that, I got the notification that Star Wars Celebration happening in Chicago. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to be there because I've lost my love of the Star Wars film fan community. Still love Star Wars, but, and that was hard. And that was really, really difficult for me. And some people may say I'm naive, and maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe I've been willfully naive about the whole thing, but it was hurtful. Not personally hurtful, but hurtful because there's this thing that I've kind of treasured so much, and I've had up on this pedestal, this fan community, particularly the Star Wars fan community, that I've had up on this pedestal for so long, and I've just celebrated and enjoyed it and loved it so much, and just realizing, oh, it's dead. It's a rotten thing now. It's an unhealthy thing. So, I mean, to everybody out there who has made it their mission to try to kill other people's love of the fandom, congratulations, you claimed a victim. You got me. You did. You got me. So, well done. Congratulations. And it's a hard thing for me. So I decided to take a day or two off and just relax. Just sit at home, watch some TV, relax. And that's why there weren't any shows yesterday. That's why there wasn't a show this morning. I wasn't even sure I was going to do a show this afternoon. But I decided, yeah, you know what? I want to get back to talking about movies. So, anyway, thank you for everybody who's been social messaging me and all that kind of stuff. I really appreciate it. So let's get on to stuff here and let's talk about some movies, all right? Let's get into it. The first one comes to us from Alexander Helmer, who writes, have you watched Hot Fuzz, my favorite Edgar Wright film? Yes. The funny thing is, I did the Q&A. No, sir. I did the Q&A for World's End with Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. But Hot Fuzz, I was there on the first screening that Edgar did in LA of it, and I was there. And I like Hot Fuzz. It's probably my least favorite of the Edgar Wright films. Now, that's not a commentary on how bad Hot Fuzz is. I enjoyed Hot Fuzz. I think Hot Fuzz is quite good. It's really more of a commentary of how much I like his other films even more. But you've had Daldry, James Bond. Which Daldry is it? What's Daldry's name again? What is it? Hold on, now I got to look it up. Timothy Dalton. Now, why did I say Daldry? Timothy Dalton in it. You got Martin Freeman's in there with the guys. It is a fun buddy cop kind of movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. But yeah, ironically enough, it's actually my least favorite of them, but I still like it. I do. I like it quite a bit. I just like his other ones even more. Thunder Knight 19 writes, How will Star-Lord react when he finds out Footloose has a remake? Well, for those of you who've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you know how Star-Lord considers Footloose to be the greatest movie of all time. Well, in Avengers Infinity War, and I won't give anything away, but the topic of Footloose comes up, and it's really quite funny to see what Star-Lord thinks. But I don't know that we're ever going to see Star-Lord on Earth. That's the funny thing. I honestly don't know that we are ever going to see Star-Lord on Earth. And I think I remember James Gunn, who is the writer and director of the Guardians of the Galaxy films. I thought I remembered him saying that we're not going to see Star-Lord on Earth. I might be wrong about that. I might be misremembering that. But I think I remember hearing him saying that we weren't ever going to see Star-Lord on Earth. Not really sure. We'll have to wait and see. Nicholas Glenn writes, saw Sleepers recently, and wow, what a great movie. Thoughts? Yes, Sleepers. Now you're talking like 95, 96, Kevin Bacon. Was Robert De Niro who was in it? I think Brad Pitt's in it. Yeah, it's a hell of a movie. It's a really good movie. It's not my top 50 films of all time sort of thing. But yeah, I enjoy the movie quite a bit. And what's really cool is sometimes you never know how things are going to happen on a screen when you put like a whole bunch of A-list talent together. And that movie's got a number of A-list kind of names, but they all, in my opinion at any rate, they play off each other so well in the movie. It's really, if you haven't had a chance to check it out, that's a good recommendation, Nicholas. Check out Sleepers. You should give that one a chance. Cameron Belgrade writes, seeing Deadpool tonight, nothing better than watching a great comedy with a crowd. Oh, I completely agree. I mean, there's nothing better than watching a great movie with a crowd. Like whether it's action, adventure, all that kind of stuff. But yes, I'll say probably more than any other is comedy. Because when you're in a room with like 500 strangers and you can all laugh together, there's something therapeutic for the soul. You know what I mean? There's something therapeutic for the soul when you're in that type of environment. It reminds me a lot, I've told this story before, but it reminds me a lot like being at Comic-Con in San Diego. There's something good for the soul walking around crowded streets in San Diego when everybody is happy. Like everybody's at Comic-Con. They've all planned being there all year. They're all there. Some are dressed up. Others are high-five. I mean, everybody's just there. And there's something good for the soul when you're just around that many people that are just having a good time and happy. And there's something good for the soul for somebody like me being in a movie theater, particularly like with a comedy. And I'm going to go see Deadpool again tonight. Me and Ann and a couple of our friends, we're going to go see Deadpool at the AMC Burbank 16 tonight. And I can't wait to watch it again. Because I know I probably missed I was laughing so hard through that movie, I missed a whole ton of stuff. So I cannot wait to watch the movie again, hopefully catch most of it this time. Ben Rayner writes, hey, John, glad you're back. Can't wait for Deadpool 2. And yeah, I can't wait for you guys to watch Deadpool 2. I mean, some of you will like it more than I did. Some of you will like it as much as I did. Some of you will like it less than I did. But I can't wait for you to have the experience. I'm really looking forward to you guys seeing it. Chris Miner writes, I get why theaters do it, but they run too many ads before a movie. I went to see Lean on Pete last night, and they ran 5 ads even before the trailers. Yeah, see, I used to hate... Actually, I put up this big rant video about 7 or 8 years ago, all completely about movie theaters running commercials before movies. Not trailers, commercials. That bothers me so much. Now, I've been very lucky. In Los Angeles, they don't play commercials before trailers. I mean, so like if the movie's supposed to start at 7 o'clock hits, they start playing trailers. Some people think, hey, if you say the movie starts at 7, you should start at 7. There's an argument to be made for that. But hey, at least trailers are a part of the movie-going experience. I'm fine with that. But commercials. And in Canada, oh my God, I love my home country. But one of the things that they do badly is showing commercials before trailers. So the movie's supposed to start at 7. You damn well better start at least the movie-going experience at 7. Don't start off with a feminine hygiene commercial. Followed up by an M&M commercial. Followed up by a Ford Fusion commercial. Followed up by Progressive Insurance commercial. Followed up by a whatever commercial. Like, that drives me nuts. You said 5 o'clock. And guess what? If you let me in to this movie for free, and as a result of coming in for free, I've got to watch 4 minutes of ads, that's fair. But I paid to be in this theater. Don't you show me frickin' 3 minutes of commercials when I have paid you to be in here. When I pay you to be here, you don't show me commercials. Like Netflix. I pay for Netflix, so they don't show me commercials. I mean, like, it's just, so that thing really, they shouldn't do it. It shouldn't be allowed. Or at least, if you want to show commercials, don't show commercials when you say the showtime is. If you say the showtime's 7:30, you better either be playing the movie or playing trailers for movies. Don't show me commercials. Like, if your theater says the movie starts at 7 p.m., and I get there at 6:45 and you're showing commercials, that's fine. You said the movie's at 7. So if I'm here early and you want to play commercials on the screen up until 7 o'clock, that's all fair. Nothing wrong with that. But if I fucking paid to be in this theater and my movie's supposed to start 7 o'clock, you damn well better not be putting up commercials for me to watch. Because I paid to be here. Anyway, I put up like a 10-minute video of that. I won't go into the whole thing again. But yeah, damn, Chris, that bothers me. That bothers me so much. Anyway, Murray writes, "Hey, John, you're an inspiration. How you take all this crap every day is astounding. I hope you continue to be strong and happy." Well, I mean, I appreciate that, Murray. But, you know, whenever I've had staff, whenever I would hire new staff at any of the places that I've built things, whenever I would bring on new staff, particularly on camera staff, I would always have a discussion with them and sit them down and say, look, you got to be prepared for this. People get liquid courage being anonymous keyboard warriors when they safely hiding behind the anonymity of a keyboard and internet. So there are going to be people who say and do a lot of really nasty things, and you got to be prepared for that. And I would always have that conversation with them. So to me, I mean, the personal attacks and all that kind of stuff, that's one thing. The thing that, like, again, that I said that really bothered me and that really hurt me was just seeing this thing that I love, this Star Wars film fan community, becoming such a toxic, unhealthy place. That's what hurt me. And the personal stuff, whatever, you know, internet tough guys and keyboard warriors, they never bother me. They think I don't know. They're just limp dick little losers. That's fine. But it was this thing that I love. That's the part that bothered me. Normally it never bothers me. It's like, whatever, I don't care. But that part bothered me, I gotta say. Mason Kackman writes, "You're a great inspiration and a great human being. Keep doing what you're doing. Some people suck." Well, I appreciate that, Mason. I really do. Thanks for sending that in. Hudson Smith writes, "Hey, John, have you heard anything about the Uncharted movie? Been kind of quiet." Well, it's in pre-production. I mean, it's in development right now, which is kind of when you want it to be quiet. Actually, it's when it's in production that you really want it to be, because when a movie's in production, no news is good news. There is no news to report when a film's in production. It's in pre-production right now. Look, what do we know? Sean Levy, who's a very good director. I mean, I will always be a fan of him because he directed Rock'em Sock'em Robots with Hugh Jackman. I love that movie. All right. I know it's not called Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but I love that movie. He's done a number of things I'm a really big fan of. He's directed a bunch of episodes of Stranger Things. He's one of the producers of Stranger Things. And anyway, he's on to direct. We got Tom Holland, who's Spider-Man, is in playing Nathan Drake. So that's where they're at right now. So I'm hoping in the next 3 or 4 months we'll hear more news. But for right now, not much new to talk about at this point. All right. Let's see. Although I will say this. Tomb Raider struggling like it did. Like, Tomb Raider didn't flop, but it struggled. The struggles of Tomb Raider may cause problems for an Uncharted movie. Because the studio may go, oh. Because, like, Tomb Raider was also pretty good. I thought Tomb Raider was a pretty good movie. Certainly one of the better video game movies ever made. Maybe the best video game movie ever made. That's not saying much, but it might have been the best video game movie I've ever seen. And it still struggled. So I haven't heard that has caused problem, but it may make some of the execs of the studio go, well, hey, wait a minute. They put out a Tomb Raider with a big star, a great talented lead actress, and they actually made the movie pretty good, and it's a big recognizable IP, and it still struggles? Maybe that caused problems for Uncharted, but I haven't heard anything. So I haven't heard about there being any additional problems or difficulties. Let's see. Murray writes, "Is it possible for movie theaters to improve the first few row seats to be watchable? Because it makes you look like a klutz the whole time just looking up." Well, it's not just how you look. It's impossible to watch a movie that way. Now, there are some movie theaters. There's one particular movie theater chain in Los Angeles called ArcLight Cinemas. They're great cinemas. And their front row actually isn't a bad seat because their front row is still like, 20 yards away or a good 15 yards away from the screen. So you can be in the very front row. And while the front row isn't the best seat in the house, it's actually not bad. You can sit in the front row of an ArcLight cinema and still watch everything. But there are still movie theaters today where the front row is useless. Because you're sitting there like this the whole time, and if something's going on, like if you're in a regular seat, something's going on this side of the screen, you just got to turn your eyes a little bit. Over on this guy, just turn your eyes a bit. You're in that front row, if you're looking at something on that side of the screen, you'd be like this, and then do this, and you're doing like this the whole movie, and it's just, it's not practical. It's not an enjoyable experience. So yeah, I do hope more theaters will look at that. Maybe just take out the first few rows of seats so that the front row is now a little bit further back. They just got to do something about that. Because if you're paying like $12 to be in that seat, it should be a functional seat that allows you to watch the movie and enjoy it. If it's a seat that doesn't allow you to watch the movie and enjoy the movie, then they should probably take those seats out. That's just kind of my opinion on that. The light side of YouTube just puts in a super chat. Thanks, light side. Murray writes, I've gotten on Amazon those huge ice cube trays. I just love them. One cube itself just lasts for a long time, then multiple small ones. Also, gotten to the Death Star mold one, and I love it. Thanks so much. Keep up the gulping. Yeah, I have. You can't really see it right now, but because it's actually half shrunk. But look at the size of the ice cube in here. It's giant. So I am a big fan. I can't remember where I was. I think Ann and I were on a cruise once a bunch of years ago, and they plopped these giant ice cubes. I'm like, I want a giant ice cube maker. So a couple of years ago, I bought on Amazon these giant ice cube trays. And I can never go back because you're right. This ice cube has been in this. I poured this drink about, 35 minutes before I even started the show. And it's still more than half its size. And it's still bigger than the average ice cube. Still keeping my drink warm. And it melts very, very slowly. And it's great. And I've got a Death Star one that makes ice cubes that look like big Death Stars. And I've got a D20 one that makes it look like a giant Dungeons & Dragons D20 sided dice. But yes, highly recommend those, man. Because when you're sitting at home watching a movie, you want your drink to last and you want it to stay cold, I highly recommend these giant ice cube trays. You'll get through an entire movie and your ice cube will still be there. So I highly recommend it. Hector Jetta writes, glad I asked about Harrison Ford movies. I checked out Sabrina on Amazon Prime and it was an enjoyable romantic comedy. Thanks for the recommendation. Dudes, I love Sabrina. I've got to watch that movie at least every couple of years. It came out in 1995, and it had Julia Ormond, who for a while, some of you might not even recognize Julia Ormond's name, but there was about a 2.5-year period, maybe 3 years, where Julia Ormond was the hottest actress in Hollywood. She was the hot name, was Julia Ormond. So anyway, in Sabrina, you got Harrison Ford, Julia Ormond, Greg Kinnear, who was awesome in this movie. It's a remake of a 1954 film, and another great example about why remakes can be very good ideas, because this movie is wonderful. So adding to your list, you had Sleepers recommended today. Highly, 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 highly recommend Sabrina. It's funny, it's touching, it's endearing, it's charming. I think you'll really like it. I love that movie. I'm glad you had a chance to check it out, Hector. All right, let's move on here. Next one comes to us from Trevor Johnson, who writes, thanks so much for all you do. You're such a positive part of my day, and the group here is amazing. Also saw the final Lucifer. I am definitely pissed now. Oh my God. I watched the season finale of Lucifer, which unwittingly turned into the series finale. Fabulous season finale. And oh my God, I cannot believe that. There are shows, I know you guys have been hearing me complain about this. There are shows in the last number of weeks that have been renewed that do not have the ratings that Lucifer has. Granted, Lucifer doesn't have great ratings, but it doesn't have horrible ratings. There are other shows getting renewed, Gotham. There are other shows getting renewed that do not have as good ratings as Lucifer. And yet they cancel Lucifer, and Lucifer is awesome. I am still keeping my fingers crossed that an NBC, a TBS, a CBS, a Netflix, a Hulu, an Amazon Prime, a Crackle, for heaven's sakes, that somebody will come along and pick this show up, especially after watching that season finale. You can't leave the show there. My God. Anyway. Okay, next one. James Welsh writes, is Captain Marvel going to be in a cryogenic state like Buck was? Or else how do they explain her appearance in Avengers 4 if she looks the same as she did in the 90s? Age her up, time travel? Oh, James, there's a million different ways they could do it. You could say she's in some kind of slumber, sure. You could say she's gone to a parallel dimension. You could say she's gone to another world. You could say she's done this. Because, by the way, there's I can't say that because it's in Avengers Infinity War and I don't want to spoil anything. But there really are 1,000 different storytelling mechanisms that you can put into place to explain it. It's limitless. It's only limited by your imagination. So really, I don't think that's going to be a problem or a struggle or one of the difficult things for them at all. I think they'll be perfectly fine. All right. Hector Jetta writes, glad you're back. Hope all is well. Thank you, Hector. I appreciate that. Murray follows up. Are the anthology films considered prequels? Because I don't want the Lucas ones in the same boat name. Well, I mean, technically they're prequels. Because, the originals are the original Star Wars trilogy. So therefore, technically speaking, any story that takes place before the events of the original trilogy, technically speaking, are prequels. So while I would also don't want to put that, but you don't say, well, there's Star Wars and then there's the prequels. I think in Star Wars circles, like the prequels, we just know what those are, right? That's Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. That's what the prequels are. Is Rogue One a prequel? Yes, it's a prequel, but it's not one of the prequels. I know in syntax it's a little bit confusing, but really we all know what we're talking about. When we say the prequels, we all know the 3 movies we're talking about. And while yes, Solo is technically a prequel, yes, Rogue One is technically a prequel, they are not considered part of the prequels. You know what I'm saying? They're kind of their own sort of thing. Let's see. Luna Comics writes, John, you don't look Canadian enough on the thumbnail of your South Park review. I know what you're talking about. I did a review for the recent South Park one, Fractured But Whole. And I love that game. I played that game after I did the story review of it. And what happened was Ray got me turned into a South Park character for the thumbnail. If you have not seen it, search for it on my YouTube channel and look at the thumbnail that Ray came up with. Now, traditionally, though, in South Park, Canadians look different by having their heads in 2 halves, right? Like they have the one straight line right across, and their entire top of their head goes up and down when they're talking, as opposed to the regular South Park characters. And Ray did me up as a regular South Park character, which is fine. But yeah, he didn't draw me as a Canadian. So, but you should check out that thumbnail that Ray made because he did a great job with it. Let's see. Josh Crichton writes, do you think the Men in Black existed? Oh, I don't know. I'm not somebody who researches a lot of the conspiracy theory stuff. So honestly, I have no idea if they did or not. Dakota Barber writes, hey, John, glad you're back today. I hope everything is much better. Remember that you've got online supporters, including myself, who greatly appreciate you and everything you do. Stay awesome, man. Oh, I appreciate that, Dakota. Very, very much. And again, it wasn't that I took a day off because, oh, my feelings are hurt. No. It was just seeing this thing that I love so much turning to ass. I mean, that's the part that hurt. And, but I appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you. Josh writes, something cool happened yesterday. I sent a tweet to Izzy Hale of Hailstorm, told her both Fish and Hailstorm are 2 of my favorite bands, and also told her that I love her. She sent me a tweet thanking me. That is always really nice, because I'll be honest with you, straight up, I don't even know who Izzy Hale is, but when you get anybody who's even remotely famous, like I am a D-list internet celebrity, at best, a D-list internet celebrity. And I am just flooded with messages. Like I'm flooded with them. And I'm a D-list internet celebrity. Internet celebrity, which is below like regular real world celebrities. So you got real world celebrity, internet celebrities, A-list, B-list, C-list, D-list. I'm down on the D list, and I get flooded with these. So you can only imagine people who are significantly more popular than me, how many messages they get from people. And for any of them at any time to like a tweet, respond to a tweet, things like that, that's always, I mean, that just makes you feel good. Look, I'm a fan, right? And I remember a while ago, Hugh Jackman responded to a tweet that I wrote. And I just about lost my shit. I mean, I seriously just about lost my mind. Like, Hugh Jackman responded to a tweet that I mean, and that's, I just lost my mind. So yeah, whenever they do something like that, it's completely great. And I'll tell you a story too. Like I reached out to Ryan Reynolds. Maybe I shouldn't tell this story, but I am. I reached out to Ryan Reynolds because, Comic-Con, usually I do Masters of the Web. I'm still not sure if I'm doing one this year, but I was thinking about doing Masters of the Web again this year at Comic-Con. And I just decided on a whim, you know what? I'm just going to fire off a tweet to Ryan Reynolds and just say, hey, dude, listen, I'd love to have you as the guest on my panel at Comic-Con. Now, what I fully expected was just no response. Because I'm sure he probably gets 5,000 messages a day, so I'm just sure he's not going to respond. Not to mention, he's a little bit busy right now. The past little while, trying to gear up, first of all, get Deadpool 2 finished up, and then get it prepared to market it and get the press stuff going. Totally busy dude. And like 10 minutes later, boom, my phone bings, and he wrote me this note back. Just about, he's not going to be in the country when Comic-Con's going on, so he couldn't do it. But he could have just wrote me back, sorry, can't. But he didn't. He wrote me this note, just, hey, say, I would love to. I really would, but I can't because I'm going to be here, and I'm traveling, and my wife's going to be doing this, and I've got this, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh my God. And it is funny how social media and interacting with people on social media as one of the good things, because there's many, many toxic, terrible things about social media. But one of the truly, really cool things about it is that it does give real celebrities like a direct connection to fans that they can just like a tweet or do a quick response to somebody. And I understand that they can't do it hardly ever because they get thousands a day. They can't do that. But when they do take a second and do a response like that, that tells you something about them, I think. And my respect level just for like a Hugh Jackman or a Ryan Reynolds or stuff like that just goes up a number of notches when I see stuff like that. And I don't know who this Izzy Hale girl is, but clearly that was really classy of her to write back to you, especially when you're a fan. I mean, I just think that's awesome. That's tremendous. Abraham Asif writes, hey, John, love all that you do, and I'm absolutely loving the Aaron Cummings interviews. Keep up the filthy. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, a little bit earlier today, I put up part two of the Aaron Cummings interview, and there's some great stuff in it. She talks about how Bitch Slap came about, which is incredible. She gives this great little speech about sex scenes and doing sex scenes in movies. That was just a great perspective on it. And she talks about, and this is a big one, she talks about Spartacus. But for those of you who've watched Spartacus, remember the guy who was the star of Spartacus in season 1, he passed away, Andy Whitfield, and he couldn't come back. And talking to Aaron, and Aaron did all of her stuff with Andy in Spartacus. She played Spartacus's wife. And I'm not going to say anything about it, just to say you should hear her talking about Andy. It's just really great. And yeah, you should check it out. So anyway, part 2 of the interview went up today. Part 3 of the interview will probably come in a few weeks because we had to stop recording because we recorded for like 2 hours. And then I had some other things to do, and Erin had to go as well. So then she had to leave town for work. She had to leave town and fly out of the country to shoot somewhere. So she's going to be back in a few weeks, and we're going to do part 3. So keep your eyes open for that. But absolutely, go check out part 2 of that interview with Erin because it's really worth watching. So thank you for that, Abraham. I really appreciate that. All right. Thunder Knight 19 writes, I really enjoyed the Power Rangers movie, but how much did the brand play in the movie being a flop amongst non-fans of the show? Yeah, and surprisingly enough, I was a fan of the Power Rangers movie too. Not a huge fan, but I was like, I thought the movie would be suck. Like, I thought it would be pure suck. And I watched him like, you know what? That was pretty fun. I had a pretty good time watching that, which I never would have guessed in a million years. that I would have thought that, which once again is a great example about why you need to take your expectations and leave them at the door when you go into a movie. So I was able to go in with an open mind and watch it and went, you know what? I thought this would be complete ass, but bravo. That was not bad. It wasn't great, but that wasn't bad. I had a pretty good time. How much did the brand play in the movie being flop? Oh, I don't know. I don't think the brand was a deterrent. I don't think the brand hurt people going out to see it. If that's what you're wondering, it clearly didn't help all that much either, because it did not do well financially. But I don't think it was a detriment to it at all. I really can't see it that way. Maybe some of you guys do see it that way, but you'll have to explain to me how you could see it as a detriment. Off the top of my head, I really can't think of any ways that it was. Let's see. Dakota writes, 3 bags of Tostito chips, I noticed. There was a sale on these 3 for 1. 3 for 1? How can that be profitable for Frito-Lay? Jesse Plemons in Game of Night. Look, first of all, Game Night. I almost said Game of Night. Game Night with the good Canadian girl Rachel McAdams, and Jesse Plemons is in there as well, and Jason Bateman. Such a good little comedy. I mean, lots of things wrong with the movie, but it's one of those movies that's a comedy that, hey, you know what? They got the laughs, though. So that lets you forgive just about all the other problems, because this movie does make you laugh. And Jesse Plemons is gold. I honestly don't know that Jesse Plemons has done some really good stuff. I honestly don't know that I've ever just purely enjoyed Jesse Plemons the way I enjoyed him in Game Night. He's not even the lead character. He's not even one of the top 4 or 5 lead characters, but he's got a solid presence in the movie. And every minute, his character is just awesome. And so, so there's your 3rd recommended movie today. You got Sleepers, you got Sabrina, Game Night. Of course, that's recent. Some of you may have seen it, but if you haven't seen Game Night yet, check it out. It's a good, funny, good, entertaining hour and a half of laughs. I think you'll enjoy it. All right. Bryce Freeman writes, what do you think of Arrow name-dropping Bruce Wayne this season and reports that next season they will introduce Batwoman and Gotham City? I don't care. I mean, if that's fine, name drop, that's fine. I mean, it's a little desperate, but it's, they've already referenced Bloodhaven. They've referenced Bruce Wayne a number of times. Like this, Bruce Wayne and all that kind of stuff has been name dropped a few times. The notion, I don't know if it was an official report or just rumor that they're going to have like a Batwoman next year. To me, a little bit desperate. I don't think you need to. And it just feels like Arrow is starting to find its footing again. This villain they're doing, unlike Flash, and I've vastly preferred Flash the last couple of years over Arrow, but this villain angle they're taking right now in Arrow with Ricardo Diaz as the villain, the dragon, he's been a great villain. And that one episode they did kind of focusing on the origins of Ricardo Diaz was probably the best single episode of comic book TV shows of the past couple of years. Not just the single best episode of Arrow of the past couple of years, like probably the single best episode of any comic book show the last couple of years. I like the direction they're going. I'm still not fully back on board with Arrow, but I gotta say, they seem to be laying the groundwork for righting the ship. And does bringing Batwoman or Gotham into it, does that hurt or help? I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to say I'm not completely thrilled with it, but who knows? It might work out. Let's see. Mike Lynch writes, with Solo coming out and lots of people praising Donald Glover's Lando, I was wondering if it's safe to say he's another Hugh Jackman-style triple threat. He's had success in comedy, music, and acting. Well, he's had success in acting before Solo. I mean, Community was a beloved show, and Donald Glover was a big reason why that show was, he wasn't the main character, but his character was one of the big reasons that show was so successful, and why it had the run that it did, and why it was so funny. So, yes, Donald Glover is a triple threat. Aside from, I don't want to go ranking things, but I just will say this. Donald Glover as Lando, he crushes it. I think there are going to be people, and that's one of the neat things. I think there may be people who come out of Solo who may not like Solo, but they're going to say, That Alden Ehrenreich kid did pretty good. And they're especially going to say that Donald Glover dude did pretty good. Because they both do very, very well. And yeah, Donald was great. Donald was great as Lando. Let's see here. Josh writes, I have a title for the sci-fi novel. It's going to be called The Existence. Any guesses you or the chat board or the comment section wants to make about it? I have no idea, man. No clue. Jordan Miller writes, just wanted to say, good to see you back, John. We love you. And F those losers, pumped for Deadpool 2. And you should be pumped for Deadpool 2. I think you're going to have a very good time. You may like it more than the first Deadpool. You may not like it as much as the Deadpool. But I think you're going to enjoy yourself. I do. I really, really think you're going to have a good time there. Royce Freeman writes, when the Queen trailer dropped, many LGTB community members said they felt downplaying Freddy being bi was het washing. Thoughts? Idiotic. It's an idiotic thing to say. It's a trailer. It's a first teaser trailer. Like, I don't care whether it's, look, there's probably a million things about Queen and about Freddie Mercury that they could have touched on that they didn't in the first frickin' teaser. It's a trailer. Who cares? I feel like Allen Iverson, practice? We're talking about practice. Practice? I mean, it's a trailer. It's a first teaser trailer. Who cares? They didn't emphasize this in the trailer. So what? There's lots of things about Solo that are not emphasized in the trailer. There's lots of things, but it's just the first trailer. Now, I'll say this, though. You do the movie, and they just ignore and gloss over Freddie Mercury's sexuality, which was a significant part of who he was. You do the movie, that's a different conversation. Then we are having a completely different conversation. As far as what they do or don't put in the first 2-minute teaser trailer, are you serious? Practice? We're sitting here talking about, we're talking about the teaser trailer? And making a big political huff about what's in the teaser trailer? Give me a break. Give me a break. Again, the movie comes out and they gloss over that shit. That's a different conversation. That is a different conversation that will then need to be had. But we don't know at this point. I mean, at least I don't know. I don't know very much about the movie other than the fact that Bryan Singer is no longer the director of record. So there's that. But practice? The trailer? We're trying to cause a stink about what's in the teaser trailer or what isn't in a teaser trailer? I say everybody just relax. Now, again, though, we put out the movie and the movie glosses over that shit. That becomes a problem. That becomes a problem. Because it was a big enough and a significant thing about who he was that you can't gloss over it without intentionally glossing over it. Like you can say, hey, you know, in his spare time, Freddie Mercury liked collecting baseball cards. But they didn't touch on his baseball card collecting in the movie. Well, yeah, but his baseball card collecting never was a part of the definition of who he was. If you glance over that in the movie, fine. Freddie Mercury's sexuality is a very prominent, important thing about who he was. You gloss over that in the movie, then you're glossing over it on purpose. And that becomes an issue, and that becomes something you need to talk about. Trailer? A teaser trailer? I don't know. If any of my friends say they have a problem with that, I'm just going to put my hand on their shoulder and say, dude, you know we're talking about a teaser trailer that basically had no dialogue. It had very, 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 very little dialogue in it. It was mostly musical montages and cutting and whatever. Honestly, I wouldn't get worked up about it at all. It's a teaser trailer. Let's not make an issue out of it. That's what I would say. Let's see if there's an issue to be made later. For now, I would say there's not an issue to be made here. Let's see. Murray writes, Show Dogs movie looked awesome. You know what? Whoa, wait a second. Which movie are we talking about here? I got to make sure I'm thinking about the right one. Oh, yeah, that one. Does not look so awesome to me. I thought for a minute we were talking about the one with the guys from... why am I forgetting? Best in Show. I was confusing it with Best in Show for a second. I do not think Show Dogs looks all that good, but you do. That's great. I'm not going to lie to you, though. I didn't think it looked that good to me. But who knows? Maybe it's wonderful. I know nothing about it other than, seeing a couple of teasers. It doesn't look so good to me, but maybe it will be. Maybe it'll be great. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Colbert writes, is Warner Brothers being braver with the Wizarding World than Disney is with Star Wars? Lucasfilm makes a Solo movie, an Obi-Wan movie, and talk of a Lando movie. Warner Brothers gives us Fantastic Beasts, nearly new characters. Well, yeah, here's the thing though, Colbert. They couldn't do more Harry Potter movies. The only way you can do anything more connected with Harry Potter is what JK says you're allowed to do. Let's not forget that. I absolutely 100%, 1,000 times 1,000 to the power of 1,000 guarantee you that if JK Rowling, if she said, okay, I'll write another Harry Potter book, they would scrap every plan they had for Fantastic Beasts, and they would do new Harry Potter. Don't be too, I love Warner Brothers, and I love what they're doing, but don't be too quick to dole out big praise for them. Look at that, and instead of doing another Harry Potter, they're going back and telling these other stories. Well, that's only because J.K. Rowling wouldn't let them. That's the only reason. So, like, if Anne says to me, if I'm like, I want to buy the Thanos toy, and Anne says, no, you're not buying that damn Thanos toy, and I don't buy it, you don't get to praise me saying, John, you showed real financial responsibility by not buying that Thanos toy. It wasn't up to me. So before we start doling out credit to Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers, you're being really bold by instead of doing more Harry Potter movies, go and doing they weren't allowed. Because I 1,000 times 1,000 to the power of 1,000% guarantee you that had JK said, okay, fine, I'll write another book that picks up 2 years after the events of Deathly Hallows. Warner Brothers would have said, done. Sign the $1 billion check, hand it over, away we go. But JK said no. It wasn't Warner Brothers' call. It was hers. Now, as far as being braver, look, whether you really liked Star Wars: The Last Jedi, whether you really didn't like Star Wars: The Last Jedi, they were bold. They did some really bold things in that movie, some of which worked. I love what they did with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. I think what they did with Luke Skywalker is the most compelling thing maybe they've ever done in Star Wars. However, they tried some other things that did not work so well for me, whether you're talking about Canto Bight, the whole, Del Toro's character, how they used Rose, how they used Finn, all that kind. I've got a number of ways they tried to be bold that didn't work, some that did, whatever. But they tried different things. So you got to give them that. But yeah, anyway, that's just how I see it. Ben Rayner writes, do you see Deadpool on Stephen Colbert? That was excellent, Mark. I did not see that. I had no idea, but now I know what I'm going to look up on YouTube as soon as this show's done. So no, I did not see Deadpool on Colbert. I'll have to check that out for sure. Jake C writes, hey John, love the show. Thank you so much, Jake. I listen while working drive-thru at KFC Taco Bell. That's awesome, man. I'm glad you're able to listen to the show. And now you've made me hungry for a KFC crispy chicken sandwich. Now my mouth's watering. Okay. Jake C follows up with, also, there's been declining sales, so all of our prices go up every month or so. We have less customers, so let's charge the ones that buy from us more and more money. Sound familiar? Keep up the great work. And yeah, what Jake's referring to is kind of the backwards way the theater industry is approaching the problem of declining attendance. Tons of people go to the movies still, yes. But the fact of the matter is, over the last number of years, fewer and fewer people go every year. And what's been their brilliant idea? The studios and the film exhibition companies, the theaters, let's compensate by increasing ticket prices, which will only cause fewer people to come to the movies next year. And then they'll compensate again. Well, let's raise the prices again, which will cause even fewer people to come to the movie. They are looking at this so badly and addressing this so badly. It's crazy. They're looking at how do we solve the problem right now? As in, hey, we're not going to make our however multi-hundreds of $1 million budget we need to make this year. Well, then let's just raise the ticket prices so we meet our quota. Well, that's great, but you're not thinking long term. You're not thinking about next year or the year after that. What effect is raising ticket prices going to do? They've got to address this. They have got to address the movie industry, and that includes studios and the movie theaters, the exhibitors. They have got to address this issue and get the prices back down. You want to bring people out to the movies more? Great. Don't charge them $22 to go to a movie at an AMC Prime. What? Really? You mean if we charge less money, more people will be inclined to come? Go figure. So they got to figure out a way to get their heads around that. Donaldo Martinez writes, after watching your God of War review, which is an amazing game, question comes up. Could a movie work, putting aside the history of video game movies, or should it be left as a game? I imagine it would be really, I think you meant to say expensive. Yeah, it would be expensive for sure. Can it work as a movie? Okay. First of all, anything can work as a movie. A movie about Hector, the sentient ice cube, cousin to Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone. Any movie, if a movie about plastic building bricks, the Legos, if a movie about Legos can work, anything can work if it's put together right and it's executed. Anything can work. God of War, particularly this new story that they did, is so good. Well, even the older stories, when you follow the path and the story of Kratos and all that kind of stuff, there's some rich storytelling there. It could work. It may not. I will tell you this right now, though. Nobody's going to make a God of War movie until another video game movie comes out that shows that video game movies can make money. Because all the studios are seeing right now is video games barely making any money, losing money, barely making any money, kind of broke even, losing money. That's what they're seeing. So you're right. A God of War movie would be an expensive film. You're probably talking about a $175 million movie. Minimum. So for a studio to step out and invest in a movie like that, they've got to first see some proof that the audience is willing to come out and support a video game movie like that. So that's why they're going to need to see something. Maybe Uncharted is the answer. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I believe, Donaldo, that there is enough narrative there. There's enough great mythology there. There's enough character development there. Yeah, the building blocks are there to make a good movie or a bad movie. But yeah, it's there. The potential is there for God of War. For sure there is. I just have my doubts that any studio is going to, put their neck on the line and invest into something like that when they don't know if these movies can actually make them any money. Yeah, that's going to be the challenge. Okay, sorry, I had a bit of a jump. Okay, here we go. Clock Penalty writes, the internet is prepping to brand Captain Marvel a Mary Sue. They accept Thanos' power with no buildup besides a few post-credits. Can a truly powerful female ever exist in fandom without this treatment? I don't know. We're going to have to see. Like I said, there are a bunch of first cousin humping losers out there who think that women are only supposed to show their tits and not their face on screen. And any powerful woman is going to represent a threat to them. They don't need to, but they do. They are the small group, though. There are going to be people who watch Captain Marvel and don't like it. Maybe I won't like it. Who knows? They just won't like it because maybe they didn't like it. But there are people out there who are already prepping to say, there's a female lead superhero movie. That's an agenda. We just had 17 superhero movies in a row, all led by white dudes. Was that an agenda? No. Then how come one movie with the female lead is an agenda? It just is because I don't have any security in myself. Anyway. Yeah, there's that. No, there's no way around that. There is no way around that. And I think the people who are making the movie, and they're going to be marketing the movie, they just know in advance there's going to be this cancerous segment of the movie-going audience that is already prepping to arm and label Captain Marvel because it's got, some blonde chick in the lead. And that's the reality we live in. So they got to be prepared to market through it. To just market through it. And that's what they got to do. Now, again, keep in mind, if the movie comes out and people watch it and there's some people just don't like it, they're not disliking it because it's got a woman. No, maybe they just don't like it because they don't like it. But there are people out there who we already know just don't like the idea of any movie having a woman in the lead because that's not their place. And those people exist, and we've seen them rearing their faces. So they are thankfully a small segment, but just resist the urge, though, when Captain Marvel comes out, to label anybody that doesn't like the movie as, oh, you just don't like it because it's a woman in the lead. No, the vast majority of the people who don't end up liking Captain Marvel are just not going to like it because they don't like it. So you got to be really careful. And that's why I want to be really careful when we're talking about stuff like this, because it would be completely unfair to label anybody, oh, if you didn't like that movie, it's just because you just don't like women in the lead. What? I never said that, because that's not the case. The vast majority of the people who won't like it just because they don't like it. Now, whether that's going to be a lot of people or whether it's going to be a small group of people, we won't know till the movie comes out. But you're right, Clock Penalty, they're out there. And there's really nothing you can do about it except, try to ignore them and just let everybody say what they think about the movie. And maybe the movie will be terrible. Maybe it'll be great. I mean, we won't know till it comes out, but those influences will be there. All right. I just got time for 2 or 3 more. I'm just going to run through a couple, and then the rest I'll have to do in a companion video for tomorrow, guys. On if CTU123 writes, thoughts on last week. I don't know what SPN is. I don't know what that is. Sorry about that. Manuel Fernandez writes, thoughts on the controversy surrounding Bohemian Rhapsody, not including Freddie Mercury's sexuality. Again, practice? We're talking about practice? No, it's. By the way, if any of you are too young to know what I'm talking about, look up on YouTube, Allen Iverson practice rant. It's epic. It's one of the all-time greatest sports media clips you will ever see in your life. Anyway, Connor Dixon writes, just been rumored that Kenobi will be closer to A New Hope and be in conflict with the Sand People. And how was you two? Did Noel Gallagher support them? I don't know who Noel Gallagher is off the top of my head. Again, I didn't stay for the YouTube concert, which is unfortunate, especially with how much the tickets cost. And yes, I've heard some rumors and reports, but again, don't read too much into them until we get anything factual laid down there and before we know anything for sure. Kevin Komaki just sends in supportive chat. Thank you so much, Kevin. Appreciate that. And the final one today will come to us from Anthony R., who writes, Batwoman coming to Arrowverse. Does this confirm Bruce Wayne is indeed Batman in the universe, or too soon to speculate? No, it doesn't confirm anything. It would confirm nothing. I'm not saying that they'll never do that, but I don't think we're ever going to see Batman in the CW shows. And I'll be straight up honest with you. I don't want Batman in the CW shows because the way they treated Superman in the CW universe is frickin' disgraceful. It's straight up disgraceful how they treated Superman. After seeing that, I don't want them touching Batman because look, I like Arrow and all that kind of stuff, but you bring in Batman and have Batman job to Arrow, I'm burning my television. I mean, I don't know. I'm losing my mind if you do that. So I do not trust them with the big holy trinity of heroes, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. I just don't trust CW or any of those producers with those characters. The way they so badly mistreated the Superman character is completely unacceptable to me. So I don't want Batman in there. I really don't. But no, certainly, just because they say Batwoman is there doesn't mean there's a Batman. Because who knows how... You can say, but John, how would they do that? Well, there's a million ways they could. And they might. They might. I'm just saying at this point, it doesn't confirm anything. At least I don't think so. All right, guys. That will do it for now. For those of you who still have pending questions, don't worry about it. I'll put up a companion video either tomorrow or Saturday. It's going to become... Tonight is a little bit busy because I am going to be going to see Deadpool again later tonight, but I will get around to it shortly. So any of you guys who sent questions from James Hoffman all the way down, those will be addressed on the companion video. Okay, guys, that will do it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.